Hi, this is Blake Butler, lead exercise specialist at the Lift Wellness Center. And today in this video, we're going to talk about squats and 3 of its variations. We're going to talk about the standard squat or the high bar back squat, the wide stance squat or the low bar back squat, as well as the box squat. So main things we want to think about during this is really developing a lot of leg strength and hip power and some core strength while we're moving throughout the movement. Things that we're going to think about is proper foot placement, how to create a tight core, what to do with our hips and what to do with our knees, as well as hand placement on the bar. So first off, we're going to start off with that standard squat, the high bar back squat. And in this, we're going to keep our feet directly underneath our hips. We're going to have our hands slightly wider than shoulder width on the bar. We're going to keep our hips moving back and our knees out, allowing our hips to get parallel with our knees or just below. So now next we're going to move to the actual bar and show you this movement. So now we're going to move into the demonstration part of the high bar back squat or the narrow stance squat. First off is setting up a good shoulder width. Normally on your barbell you're going to have a rough kind of part on the edges of the bar that's called the knurling, and then you're going to have a smooth part through the middle of the bar. Most comfortably you can find about a thumb length width away from the edge of the smooth part so that your hands are slightly wider than shoulder width. Once we've found this hand grip that's comfortable for you, whether it be just slightly wider or a little bit tighter, we're going to pull ourselves down underneath the bar into a tall chest. From here, we've got our feet directly underneath us so that we may lift up the bar from the rack. Taking 2 steps back, I'm going to set my feet so that they're directly underneath my hips. Not too wide yet, but directly underneath our hips. So from here, I'm going to pull my belly button in so that my core is tight, show the logo on my shirt, push my hips back and my knees out, dropping down so that my hips are either at parallel or slightly below parallel. From here, we're going to drive through our heels, lifting our chest upright into the top position. Once you're done with your squats, we're going to walk into the rack and letting it down securely onto the rack. So that now that we've finished up with our standard squat, we're going to learn about the wide stance squat. Biggest benefits and changes for this is that we're going to work a little bit more outer hip control and inner hip strength. We're going to have a slightly wider than shoulder width stance. So to find that stance, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our feet directly underneath our hips where we were squatting from before. From here, I'm going to rotate my right toe out, then turn my heel out so that now my foot is pointing forward. Same thing, left foot out, then heel out. So now I'm 1 foot wider on both sides than my standard squatting stance. And then from there, we're still going to continue to tighten the core, keep a tall chest and a neutral neck, hips back, knees out into our squat. In this variation, it's highly important to make sure that you really focus on pushing your knees out, not allowing them to buckle in, so that your knees and your toes are right over top one another. So now we're going to move back behind the bar again and work on this variation. So now that we're behind the bar, same grip is going to happen where we're slightly wider than shoulders or 1 thumb length away from the edge of the knurling on the bar. I'm going to pull myself up and underneath the bar just a little bit deeper on the shoulders so that's resting behind the shoulders. From here, we're going to lift up on the bar, take our 2 steps back and find our wide stance. So again, we're going to rotate toe out, heel out, toe out, heel out so that my toes are facing forward 1 foot wider on each side. From here, we're going to push our hips back, knees out, where our hips are right at parallel to the floor, in line with our knees. We're going to drive our heels into the ground and lift our chest. Once we're done, we're going to bring our feet in and walk to the bar, securely placing the bar back down onto the rack. So that's the end of our low bar or wide stance back squat. Our next variation is going to be the box squat, which form is very similar, but uses a little bit different thought on standing up. So now we're moving into that 3rd variation, the box squat. Our setup on our feet and on the bar are going to be exactly the same as our low bar or wide stance box squat, except for now we have a box to sit down on, allowing us to actually stop and rest our hips so that we actually have to generate more power to stand up from the box. So again, we're going to set up our feet 1 foot wider on each side from our normal standard squatting position. So now we're going to move back behind the bar. So now that we're behind the bar with the box kind of at an angle between our legs, we're going to go ahead and approach the bar. Still setting up our hands slightly wider than shoulders, about a thumb length away from the edge of that knurling. We're gonna pull ourselves down underneath the bar, allowing it to rest right behind our shoulders. From here, we're going to lift up, step back slightly, find our wide stance, rotating toe out, then heel out, so that I'm 1 foot wider. From here, I'm gonna pull in my belly button so that my core is tight, show the logo on my shirt so I have a tall chest, and go hips back, knees out, resting onto the box. From here, I'm gonna think about digging my heels through the ground and bringing my belt buckle forward so that I come to an upright standing position. So digging the heels in, belt buckle forward to a tall position. Now I'm gonna bring my feet back in, walk it to the rack, and let the bar back down securely. So that is our last variation of our squats. We have our narrow stance, standard stance, where we have a high bar position. Then we have our low bar back squat with a wide stance and our box squats. So using all of these are gonna help you build a lot of leg and hip power and strength. That concludes our video for today on the squats.